Welcome to another edition of the Monday Morning Tennis Rant, coming to you on a Sunday. Roland Garros officially started. I filled out the draw a couple of days ago, and on day one, I made some incredibly clutch picks, but I also had some incredible draw busters already. I'm gonna update you guys once the first round wraps up to see how many I got right, how many I got wrong, but follow me at Intuitive Tennis on Instagram, where I give daily updates on Roland Garros. I've got to tell you, I got emotional during the Rafael Nadal tribute. It is by far the best tribute to a retiring professional player that I've ever seen. Nothing else comes close, and it puts what they did for Rafa at Davis Cup to shame. There were so many exceptional moments in this tribute. That video that they played in the stadium alone was incredibly touching. Rafa gave a very touching speech where he spoke in French, Spanish, and English. And then came something super emotional. The Big Four reunited on the court. And what Rafa said about their rivalries was so touching. And Rafa probably thought it was going to be over at that point, but something incredible came right after, and it was the permanent plaque of Rafael Nadal on the court. Carlos Alcaraz and Iga Swiatek were in the crowd wearing the red Merci Rafa shirts that, by the way, were selling on the internet for 500 euros. As a Rafa fan, I was touched, and I absolutely loved the tribute. As I said in some of the tributes that I did last year for Rafa when he announced his retirement, and then when he finally retired, he's my favorite athlete of all time, and I don't think I will ever have the same connection to a pro athlete like I had with Rafa. Now, it was so incredible to see the Big Four on the court together, and while Novak Djokovic is still active on tour and he plans to play for a while, it is the end of the golden era of tennis. We had so much fun watching these guys compete, but tennis is in great hands because we have Sinner and Alcaraz, two fantastic sportsmen, incredible players, and we're gonna have a blast watching these two guys compete. And we also have some spectacular younger players rising in the rankings, which brings me to the topic of Eala and Fonseca. Are these two players overhyped? Fonseca hasn't played yet. He plays Hurkacz in the first round. But the Eala, even though I picked her to win the first round against Arango, she already lost. And since making the semifinals in Miami, she hasn't performed well on the clay. And I've read some comments where people are saying that she is overhyped. And I want to touch upon that. First of all, Emma Raducanu received a lot of similar statements that she got lucky at the US Open in 2021. And people are saying that Eala making the semifinals in Miami and beating 3 Grand Slam champions consecutively was just a fluke. And there is no such thing in tennis. You have a bigger chance of winning the lottery than winning the US Open or making the semifinals of Miami, and on top of that beating Ostapenko, Keys, and Swiatek. This has absolutely nothing to do with luck. Eala is a phenomenal player, very talented, and it makes a lot of sense that people are excited about her game. And because of that result in Miami, she did get hyped up. She got a lot of attention. She was pretty much unknown prior to the tournament and then turned into a superstar. That's what happens in tennis when you produce good results, and especially if you're a young player. Now, as I said in those videos where I covered Eala's tournament, to me it was very probable that she was going to struggle right after the Miami tournament. First of all, even if she would have played on her preferred surface, which is hard court, there's still a chance that she would have struggled because she was virtually unknown, like I said, and all of a sudden she becomes a superstar. There's a tremendous amount of pressure. But on top of that, after the tournament in Miami, she had to transition to the clay. And the way Eala plays doesn't translate well to the clay courts. She likes to take the ball early. So when somebody gives her a little bit more height, She likes to take the ball on the rise and lean into it. This is very difficult to do on clay because the bounce is very unpredictable. She returned so amazingly well at the tournament in Miami, but the return of serve, which she also takes early, is more challenging on the clay because of the bounce. And all this was evident in today's first round match against Arango. In the first set, Eala didn't win a single game, and she was making a lot of mistakes. She tried taking the balls early, and Arango is a great clay court player that also happens to play with a lot of variety, does a lot of backhand slice. She will do forehand slice on occasion, and she plays the forehand very heavy, and she plays it a little bit higher over the net. So this is a tough opponent to face on clay. But after losing that first set, Eala got her teeth into the match and was up 3-2 in the second set, up a break, and then they had a rain delay, and after the rain delay, Eala came back and continued to play exceptionally well and won that second set 6-2. Now, in the third set, Arango held the first game. Eala lost her serve. This is still the weakest area of the Eala game. Her serve does need to improve, but the return game, on the other hand, is spectacular, and she actually broke back right away when it was 2-1, and then she lost her serve again for the second time in a row. And she kept this match close, but eventually Arango was just too solid, too consistent, and she won that third set 6-3. So I do not think that Eala is overhyped. I don't think that she got lucky in Miami, and I don't think it was a fluke. Clay is not her favorite surface, and what I would do if I was her, I would play an ITF on grass, because I think Eala can do really well on grass. She likes coming forward, and the lefty serve is going to be more difficult to return on grass. So the fact that it's slow, I don't think it's going to matter as much on grass as it does on other surfaces. Now, in Fonseca's case, it's a completely different scenario, even though both Eala and Fonseca have similar rankings, but Fonseca had a slow and steady rise, winning the Next Gen Finals last year and then playing incredible tennis in 2025, winning 2 challengers, winning Canberra prior to the Australian Open, in which he beat Rublev in a spectacular match. Then he won a challenger in Phoenix, beating some really tough players, and then he won a couple of rounds in Miami, lost a really tough match to Alex de Minaur. Now, prior to those hardcore tournaments in Indian Wells, Phoenix, and Miami, Fonseca actually played the clay swing in South America, in which he did phenomenally well. He won his first tournament in Buenos Aires, and then went over to Rio, which is a difficult tournament for him because there's a tremendous amount of pressure. He is incredibly famous already, with over 1 million followers on Instagram. And last year he did well in Rio, but this year maybe he was also a little bit tired from the tournament in Buenos Aires. He lost in the first round. And going into the clay court season after Miami, I thought that Fonseca was going to do a lot better, but he hit a little bit of a roadblock. He hasn't been playing as well as I thought he would. And of course, very similar to Eala, people are quick to start writing negative comments. But to me, the difference between the Eala hype and the Fonseca hype is that with Fonseca, it's more his actual game that people are hyped up about. Because when you look at his forehand and his backhand, it's very similar to Sinner and Alcaraz in both speed and RPMs. And in Eala's case, of course, she plays phenomenal tennis, but it was more that result in Miami that people got hyped up about. In the first round match against Hurkacz, I think this is going to be a tough one for Fonseca, because Hurkacz, after coming back from injury, he's very hungry. His ranking dipped. Hurkacz, to me, is a top 10 caliber player, no doubt about it. Top 3 server in the world, at least, maybe even number 2. It's going to be tough to beat Pericard's serve stats. But Hurkacz is also an exceptional mover, and he has one of the best down-the-line backhands that I've ever seen, and the forehand is incredibly powerful. And even though that loss to Djokovic in Geneva hurt, I think Hurkacz is going to take a lot of confidence from that tournament, and this will be a very difficult match for Fonseca to win. I want to finish this Monday morning rant with my first impression of the TNT coverage, and so far it does feel different. It feels fresh, it feels new, and I like it. I've been streaming some matches, I watched some matches on TV, and so far so good. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.